Welcome back. Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris both hitting the campaign trail in North Carolina this week. Trump will speak today in Asheville on economic hardships created by the Biden-Harris administration. Harris reportedly set to release an economic agenda in Raleigh on Friday. Her campaign said that she plans to bring down costs for the middle class and take on corporate price gouging. A TD Cowen report lays out implications of the potential of Harris as president, and they include higher taxes, more investments in the climate change agenda, expanded child tax credits, and Trump's tariffs going out the window on China. Joining me now is the Lindsey Group CEO and former National Economic Council Director, Larry Lindsey. Larry, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. What do you think a second Trump economic agenda would look like compared to a potential economic agenda from Kamala Harris in the White House?
Well, I think the two big differences are going to be a focus on lower taxes and lower spending by Trump, and also less regulation. I don't think that the various plans for climate change have actually paid off in terms of reducing carbon the way they should. We don't have the number of anywhere near the number of electric charging stations that were advertised in the bill, for example. We don't have the electricity generation. We don't have the ability to transmit that electricity to where it'll be used. So far, they've spent a lot of money, they've appropriated a lot of money, but it's gone nowhere. So I think you'll see a more rational and reformed way of addressing climate change.
Yeah, and of course, inflation and immigration are the two leading issues for voters with just over 80 days before this election. And I want to get your take on these issues, in particular the border. You've written about this as well, Larry. The U.S. now is reportedly processing citizenship requests at the fastest clip in a decade ahead of the November election. This is coming as recent analysis from the House Budget Committee found that roughly half of all jobs created since October have been going to immigrants, many of them in the country illegally, Larry. In July, there were over 31 million foreign-born workers added to the economy. That's up 22% since January 2021. And I know that there's a debate in terms of how many people we need to fill the jobs that we have in this country. But I think most people would want to see a legal structure in place rather than having a wide open border where we don't know half of the people's intentions and what their motivations are coming here. I know you say that although mass immigration does raise the GDP, it lowers GDP per capita. Tell us more about that, Larry.
Sure. I mean, there's three truths that basically fall right out of theory. First, you have more workers, GDP will go up. Second, if you bring in low-skilled workers, like we are at the open border, GDP per capita, which is a measure of how well off we are, goes down. And finally, bringing in these workers greatly increases inequality in America. So yes, higher GDP, lower GDP per capita, and more inequality, and you have to make up your decision whether it's a payoff or not.
Well, you know, Larry, I mean, this has been an economic issue, but it's also a national security issue because, of course, we know that at least 300 people have been apprehended who are already on the terrorist watch list. We've got Christopher Wray at the FBI saying we're probably going to see some kind of a terrorist attack on our own soil because partly of the wide open border. And you say, quote, it's remarkable that President Biden's 2025 budget calls for a 21% reduction in defense spending as a share of the GDP over the next 10 years. You point out none of this is being discussed in the current campaign as the media is so focused on reintroducing Kamala Harris to America. But we've got this recent report that we've been talking about all week. It's by the Commission on the National Defense Strategy, Larry. And it finds that the U.S. could lose a conflict with China and Russia in a global war unless significant changes are made to our national defense strategy. Larry, your thoughts on what we're spending on defense and how technologically advanced we are. We already know that the Navy in China is larger than the U.S. Navy right now.
Absolutely, Maria. I think this is one of the great unspoken issues. You know, the cheapest war you can wage is one that you prevent. And the old Reagan view, peace through strength, is obviously a cost-effective way of doing that. It's not just how much we're spending, it's how we're spending it. We saw recently that the Navy tried to build a floating pier in Gaza, in the Mediterranean Sea, which is a pretty calm place, and it failed over and over and over again. This is a dock that costs hundreds of millions of dollars. So we can't do it right with what we have, and we're not spending enough. So serious changes have to come to our defense system.
Well, I mean, why? Wouldn't we have seen more of an urgency given that China is on the march the way it is? Russia, obviously, creating death and destruction in Ukraine. Obviously, Hamas, Iran. The adversaries have gotten tougher.
Yes, yeah. And, the irony is that President Obama, early in his first term, called for a pivot to Asia in terms of our defense commitment. Well, there's no pivot. There's no increase in the number of ships we have in the Western Pacific. Now, the share of our ships in the Western Pacific has gone up because the total number of ships has gone down. We're now at half the number of ships we had during the Cold War, for example, totally around the world. So we are not beefing up our position in Western Pacific, which is exactly probably the next hotspot.
Which is another area to look at with regard to the differences in these two campaigns, Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. How do you see the upcoming election, Larry?
Well, it's there's an old saying, I think it was from Brezhnev, of that expert on democratic politics. He says the trouble with free elections is you never know who's going to win. And I think that's true this time. I think clearly President Trump held the lead in July, but this recent reintroduction of Kamala Harris and almost an hagiographic kind of pictures of her, turning her into a saint, has tilted it in her direction.
Yeah.
We know that there's a net media bias. And so far, that's working for her.
Well,
so that's why she's not holding any interviews, right? Why put out a policy paper? Why have an interview? Why have a press conference when the media is an arm of your campaign?
That's right. That's right.
Sense.
Well, we'll see if that will work. Meanwhile, this morning, the focus is on inflation, Larry. We've got the consumer price index out in about 10 minutes' time. Your assessment of where we are, the Fed has been able to rein in inflation, certainly from the highs with those 11 rate hikes, but now the market's expecting rate cuts in September. How do you see things economically, Larry?
Right now, I think we are in a sweet spot with regard to inflation because the goods inflation that was caused by bottlenecks during COVID, for example, have largely gone away. Service inflation is still there. What is likely to happen, and in fact, we saw it yesterday in the PPI, was that we now have goods inflation coming back. I don't know if it wasn't well advertised in the coverage of the PPI, but the only thing that lowered the PPI was a reduction in margins. It's called trade, and that's for wholesalers and retailers. So if they're going to go after corporate greed, there was less corporate greed last month, and that was the reason for the good inflation number. If the trade component, the margins, go back to their normal trend, we wouldn't have had a 0.1 yesterday. We would have had a 0.4. And, margins can only be cut so much. So I don't think we have fundamentally solved the inflation problem, nor should we. I mean, we just had the biggest increase in money out there, probably in the history of the world. You don't escape the massive amount of money that is now in the system with, 1 year of accelerated inflation. Yeah. This is going to put pressure on prices for a long time to come.
Well, that's right. And the spending is excessive on both sides of the aisle. But in the last 4 years, Larry, the Congress has spent $7 trillion. I mean, $7 trillion. No wonder inflation spiked up to 40-year highs. And now we're having a hard time reining it in. The question is, going forward, do we see a second wave of inflation? We had Jason Trennert on the other day. way. And his research says that when you have a spike to the tune of 6, 7, 8%, of course, as you know, it went all the way up to 9.1%. Typically speaking, a year later, you have another spike. Have you seen that research, Larry? What do you think in terms of if we were to see more spending on the climate change agenda, which obviously the Green New Deal is what Kamala Harris has talked about for years, if we see that spending resume, doesn't inflation resume higher as well?
Well, there's no question that more spending increases demand, which in general should push up interest rates and push up inflation. What is remarkable is that despite deficits as far as the eye can see, and despite a deficit-oriented fiscal policy being proposed, that we don't have higher long-term interest rates. A part of it is a little finagling with the books by the Treasury Department. Part of it is quantitative easing, where the Fed still has $7.5 trillion of U.S. bonds on its books. But I think the way this will all show up, first and foremost, is going to be much higher long-term interest rates. If that doesn't happen, then the inflation you talk about will happen first. And I think longer term, that will also push up long-term interest rates.
All right, we will leave it there. Great insights from you as always, Larry. Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks, Maria. My pleasure.
All right, Larry Lindsey joining us.